My name is Julie Price. I work at Dennis Publishing. I just wanted to really give you a little case study and a bit of a taster of how it felt to take on our first internship, because I don't know about yourselves, we really didn't know what to expect, and I think this would have been invaluable for me to just kind of have a talk through the process and how it worked out. Just to give you a bit of a background, Dennis Publishing is a media company, so we publish everything from magazines to websites to we create apps for different companies. But our business is really evolving now to doing things like software testing for major companies in the market as well. And to that end, I think we needed to change as a company. I think we'd rested on our laurels in terms of our recruitment. We'd always done things the same way. And I think there was time really to change things up a bit and do something very different. We do need, as a company, to have very flexible and effective recruitment. Like every company, we've suffered over the years, the past 2 years in particular. It's been quite tough. We've had to be quite flexible. We've had to work differently. And to that end, we did want to try something, and the internship and the introduction from Paul Walker at the Careers Group couldn't have come at a better time, really. We had a backdrop as well of ceasing to use recruitment consultants. As an advertising floor, I work in advertising, we'd really relied on recruitment consultants in the past. We'd probably got a little bit lazy in our recruitment, but we definitely relied on recruitment consultants. And to be told that we couldn't use them anymore was a little bit scary, and it really spurred us on to have to do something very different. Also, we wanted to have more success in our recruitment. We'd made some bad choices in the past. We'd probably looked at the wrong skill sets. We hadn't really looked at business needs as much as we should have done, and we'd chosen the same sorts of people from year to year, even though the backdrop of our business was really changing. Another thing we needed to do was over-recruit, because I think it was mentioned today, interns are a fantastic way of getting short-term jobs done. They're real jobs, but they're short-term jobs that the rest of the workforce probably won't get done, and we definitely needed that to be fulfilled within the company. There's a little photograph there of a couple of our interns squeezed into a phone box, strangely. But we wanted to find a kind of better fit through our new recruitment process, the internship, that was completely new to us. But we wanted to start again through our internship to select people on very specific criteria. Because the backdrop was changing, because we were taking on people in different environments, we needed people with different skills like HTML, project management, and on an advertising sales floor, we probably really hadn't looked for those skills before, but this was a really good opportunity to look for very specific people. We found through the internship programme, I mean this is kind of a little summary of it, that the general calibre of people was much higher than our own recruitment. We found people were generally more proactive. I'm not sure why, we haven't done studies into that, but they tended to be more proactive. They tended to work that little bit harder and wanted to impress a little bit more. And I think a larger intake, we did take on 8 interns in the end, and we wanted to take on slightly more than we might have had jobs for. I mean, obviously not every company has jobs at the end of an internship, but we definitely had about 5 or 6 roles to fill. But we took on a bigger intake because we wanted to have a bigger impact on motivation on the floor. Well, because we had a big intake of people, I think as a sales floor and as a company, we felt that we had a big responsibility to do well by them. So we put together quite a comprehensive internship programme, something that we probably hadn't done when we were taking on the odd recruit here and there. What we wanted to do as well is just to make sure that our interns really felt like they were part of the team. So you can see here, they were invited on our sales conference. From the beginning, even though the sales conference took place after the internship scheme, we always said that we would take every intern with us, that they could get the sense of the work hard, play hard of the business that we have at Dennis, that we enjoy at Dennis. Okay, just to take you through the process, again here I don't want to teach you to suck eggs, but I think it would have been useful for me to have this kind of information, so hopefully it's useful to you. The first thing was that we were introduced to Paul Walker and the team, the intern team at the University of London. He came in around about the kind of July, August time, and from there really we started looking at, very seriously at a graduate recruitment internship. We really liked what they had to say. We really thought we could work with him. And he suggested that we do the graduate recruitment fair for first looks. Because we were working in advertising, we really wanted to be able to communicate with people face to face, and I think that was the right thing to do. So we attended the graduate recruitment fair last year up in Islington. From there, we took about 5 people from Dennis there, and we rotated them. So it didn't take a huge amount of people's time up. They could just spend a few hours at the fair, meet some potential interns, and then go off and go back to their desks, go back to work. But from that day, it was a really good day, we got about 200 CVs. We had a really, really simple process of narrowing those CVs down, an A, B or C. A's were definitely we'd want to pass them through to an interview stage. B's were maybes, and C's were probably not right for us. What we made sure that we did as a backdrop to it, that we got the Dennis management team really involved. So the MD of the company, the CEO of the company, everyone in HR obviously were really, really involved from the get-go, because we wanted them to feel like it was important, and we wanted the interns who were finally chosen to feel it was a really important thing to do. So then we, with the help of the careers group, we sifted through CVs. That can be a really time-consuming part of the process, but they helped us out no end there. From there, we had 80 CVs and we did 8 group interviews. To get through 80 interviews is really, really time-consuming. Not many companies can do it. We're not a huge company, we definitely couldn't. So we took the decision to do 8 group interviews. Again, we got as wide as possible as we could across the company, getting as many directors and managers involved in that. And from there, we got to 18 second interviews. All the second interviews were face-to-face. From there, we took on 8 successful candidates as our interns, and we ran the internship programme. We ran a 12-week programme. We just thought that really mirrored what we did generally anyway. We generally run a 3-month probation scheme for anyone joining the company. So that seemed to follow really well. And all of our interns knew that at week 10, we'd choose our final 6. Through that process, we were trying to find out what their skill sets were to play to their strengths, and we chose the final 6 in week 10. 5 of them accepted. 1 was already going through a process and going through interviews, and she finally got a job at the EU, so it was a difficult one to coax her out of, so she got a great job. But we did take on 5 fantastic graduates. The little quote at the bottom there is, we were really lucky to be finalists in the Best New Provider of Work Experience in, for ratementplacement.co.uk, which is a company and a survey and an award ceremony, really, just to make sure that internships are doing what they should be and they're offering people really good opportunities. But just as a little backdrop to making the internship a success, because, like I said, it was a new thing for us as well. We had an assigned internship manager, which was myself, so I made sure that things ran on track and that everyone was happy. Just little things like having a welcome pack and a welcome introduction from the MD. The welcome pack included things like floor plans, just making sure they knew where their toilets were, all those simple things that make people quite stressed and feel quite vulnerable in a workplace, but that really helped. We had an induction plan for training, so that training took place in a kind of broad and general sense, but they also had very bespoke training on their teams as well, so whether they're working in online sales or print sales, they had definite specific training for that. We had weekly meetings with the MD. It was great for them to have access to the MD. Not all of us do on a very regular basis. It's very difficult for him to make time, but he did make time for the interns. And I think that made them feel really special and valued. They were included in wider training in the company. And the biggest thing I think they needed is trust. We needed to evaluate their skills. We needed to know that these people were worth investing in. So you've got to trust them with real jobs. You can't get them photocopying, you can't get them making cups of tea, because then you would never be able to assess their skills at the end of it. So they had real jobs and felt like they were really part of the team. And then they had an appraisal and formal feedback in week 9, because we really wanted them to assess us as well. We wanted to know if our internship was any good, are we doing the right things, do we give you the right support? So that was a 2-way feedback as well. Impact on the business, it seems a bit kind of crass to mention it, but I thought it might be useful. Just in recruitment fees alone, we saved £46,000 from 2010 by not employing the skills of recruitment consultants. That's not to say we won't in the future. I think there's a definite need in the business for us to use recruitment consultants, but just over this period, because we weren't allowed to, we did save that money. We ended up with 5 permanent members of the team who have been taken under the wing of the department and are really well valued now. All 5 interns are contributing to the bottom line. Again, seems a bit crass to talk money, but they do bring in business. If we work in advertising, they have to pay their way. And we've got a more motivated sales floor as a whole. I think everyone feels like they've got an extra pair of hands. They've got someone to do some of the work and to lessen the burden on the sales floor. A little bit of a backdrop as well. We've got a blueprint for the wider company. Other parts of the company noticed that we were doing the internship. It was a big deal, so they started calling me, calling Paul to maybe talk about doing internships at, in other parts of the company. Okay, so just a little summary really. A must-have for a successful internship. Yes, they must do a real job. They must have access to all the training that you give to anyone else from our experience. Just to get that involvement of middle managers and senior managers and the MD is a must-have really to be taken seriously. Regular meetings and opportunity for feedback, they did really value that. A need in the business, there does need to be that need, whether it's a tiny project that you want to get done or something longer term, or you've got permanent jobs at the end of it. We had a mixture of all and it all worked out really well. And tangible and measurable results. On a sales floor that's easy because you know that they're making money for you, but as long as you've got some measurable results and you can report that it's doing well. Okay, moving forward, just a little kind of summary of where we are from here. We've now got a strategy as a company and a real confidence that an internship programme was the right way to go for us. What we want to build towards is that 30% of our company intake is through internships. That's quite a bold statement, but it's something that we really do want to work towards. And even more than that, 70% on the sales floor, because we've got brilliant people and we know it's worked for us. We're looking for interns in our satellite offices in Glasgow, across the country. And like I said, we're also looking for interns in different departments, whether it's accounts, research, editorial. And what we want to do, we were finalists in the Best New Provider. What we want to do is we want to win awards. We want to be the winner next year for our internship. We think we've got the right kind of strategy, but we probably just need a little bit more practice. And with a few tweaks, I think we can get there. And that's it. Thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Andrea Magdalena. I'm the community manager for a website called internships.com. We provide internships with small companies as opposed to big organizations. My question for you, because you were stressing the fact that you gave the interns real work, what exactly does that mean?
For us, a real job was giving them a real patch of clients. To make that easier and to make that feel more supportive, then obviously we could have given smaller clients or they could have gone out on group presentations with other people. But they were given a patch to look after, so they felt really accountable. But the biggest issue for us was just making sure that they had all the training. At any point, if they'd said we don't feel comfortable having a client base, we don't feel we're ready for it yet, of course we would have backed off and that wouldn't have been the case. But because all of them were really ready for it, they were gunning for it, they wanted to have a client base, then they got real clients to work with, and they were doing well from the get-go. But I think it's the training and the support all the way through, and the feedback, the allowing for real honest feedback, so people don't feel like they shouldn't say, well, I'm not coping with this, or I don't feel ready for this yet. So I think that was it really. They all had 2 weeks training, which was so before they did anything else, they did 2 weeks induction training, which was about the company, about the advertising function, so all things like presentation skills, negotiation, objection handling, all that sort of thing that we need in a sales environment. But then they did kind of wider and more general training on what the websites were, they were working on, so very specific to their brands that they were going to be working on. So they had about 2.5 weeks training in total, but that carried on throughout the process, so 2 weeks out of 12.
So I have a couple of questions. Your recruitment process sounds very interesting, the way you actually recruited the interns. What did you mean by group interviews? How did that work?
In advertising, it's fairly likely that you will go through a group interview stage. Probably not in any other job function, but in advertising you do become quite used to it. So it would be maybe 10 candidates being interviewed at the same time. So they'll be in a group, they'll be posed questions, they'll have to work as part of teams. And what we're looking through in that process for advertising is that people can communicate well, they can get their point across, they can be persuasive, they can take the lead, but also work as part of a team. So we have different kind of games and things that we do through the interview. They tend to be about 2 hours long, so you do get a good feel for it. People can talk through their own CVs, through that, so you get a bit of individual time with them, but then you'll do little kind of role-play situations with them, so you get to see how they work as a team as well.
Okay. How much support on day-to-day basis did your interns require, and do you think it's possible to make this work as well as it worked for you if you don't have a designated person?
My role, I still had my day job, I still did whatever I do normally. I mean, I didn't spend hours and hours. All I really did was coordinate and take phone calls and and things like that. So it was little bits of coordination, maybe half an hour a day. So it wasn't my full-time job. I definitely didn't give up my job to do this. So I think it's useful to have someone who coordinates. I don't think it's definitely necessary, as long as you have a few people involved who actually know what those people are doing, because I don't think there's anything worse than a fairly new member of staff, an intern, turning up and not knowing what they're going to do for the rest of the day. They want to feel really useful. They want to feel like they've got something to do in the 8-9 hours that they're sitting at the desk. So I think that's it really. As long as you've got a backdrop to what they're doing, I think that's absolutely fine. But that's just how it worked for us.
And did they have designated line managers then, or people?
They did, yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, they all worked underneath a specific manager, so that's why the training was very specific to their jobs as well. We wanted some people just to have the experience. We knew that we wouldn't be able to take all of the interns into permanent positions. At any stage, because the business was changing so rapidly, we started out with maybe 4 or 5 vacancies. At any stage, that could have dwindled down to 2 or 3. That would never have changed how we ran the programme, how seriously we took it. So I don't think it matters at all. I think people just want an office experience. They want to feel like they're valued. They want to get that kind of training, whatever it is. I don't think that doesn't matter. But our situation was slightly different, and I appreciate that we did have real jobs at the end of it. We did have permanent positions to offer. But that won't change us. That won't mean that we won't take on interns in the future. We'll always take on interns because we want them to... I think we added something to their CVs, we added something to their self-confidence. So yeah, it works either way.